Welcome back to the Wyckoff Crypto Discussion, episode number 11. Thank you very much for your feedback. If you have any trading idea or question, feel free to leave your comment below. You can also suggest your candidates. Just write your ticker in the comment box. This information is for educational purpose only. It's not an investment recommendation. Please stop the video and read the disclaimer. As usual, let's start our analysis of the crypto market. Bitcoin is still outperforming the market. As we have stated since early October, we are in the speculative stage of the uptrend and we expect continuation of the current uptrend. We do not see any distributional sign for Bitcoin yet. The supply signature is not very high, but the price action is accelerating to the upside, and we are finally approaching two very important resistances. The $18,000 and the $20,000 price levels, where we expect to see some significant profit taking. If you are a campaigner and you are already in this position, I think that a good strategy here is just to raise your stop loss in order to lock the gains. When we think about the resistance levels, generally we look at horizontal levels. In this case, however, I would like to highlight this two downsloping resistance that show the stride of the whole consolidation. It's very common to see this multi-year downsloping trading range, and very often this resistance line can help us in a very visual way to understand the stride and sometimes to quickly identify the targets on our chart in a very practical way. But if you want to be serious about targets, Wyckoffans have a powerful tool, point and figure chart, and you will see this in the next slide. But before that, Roman, your thoughts.
Yeah, we're definitely in the speculative phase right now of the uptrend. We have concluded the absorption. We've talked about this many times. We've shown you guys a lot of analogs. And then on the way up, there were a couple of spots where absorption has happened on the way up. So we're now vertically going up into this area. So I'm not going to dwell on this. Alessio has made a very good analysis right here. So let's just move on. We have quite a lot of slides. And this slide, Alessio, I thought was so brilliant because of your usage of the logarithmic scale and also the percentage instead of just a regular either user-defined or traditional box size. So tell us about it.
Yes, crypto charts, crypto assets move very quickly. So we want to use percentage scaling with the PNF chart. And in this way, we can catch these quick up moves because volatility, high volatility needs log scales. So you can see here a very big consolidation, accumulation at the bottom after the COVID shakeout in March. And this is a very big, impressive cause. And when we plot the aggressive count from the low, from the LPS, we get this $18,000 level, which is respected in the next consolidation. In fact, we see two confirming counts that are very significant, and I think that this chart contains a very important nuances. In fact, the first confirming count, look the red comment there. Bitcoin is underperforming the crypto market. So this is a very important confirming count, but it's not significant in the when we analyze the whole crypto market. The second count is very, very important because here Bitcoin is leading the crypto market. So we can even try an aggressive count and we get again that 18,000 level. So I think this chart is very important and can help us to manage the whole uptrend. What do you think about this, Roman?
Well, I actually do love these two ideas of confirmation, non-confirmation, depending on where we are in the structure, because we have a little bit more supply here than in the rest of the structure. So duration of the structure is much longer than this one, where we are starting to outperform and the price is ready to move up. The second point is something that we've discussed yesterday in the WMD class, and that is there is still some room here for the price to go to 18,000 and slightly above, and maybe overthrow it in the way of the climactic action, and that would be, at least an intermediate stop in action. So a very fascinating chart.
And look also, the supply signature is actually decreasing on the last two red bars on the previous chart, Roman. Yes, so I think this is suggesting continuation is a very classical example of tape reading on a PNF chart. So,
all right, what else?
So here we see that Bitcoin is going up, the supply signature is decreasing, but the rest of the market is finally participating. And in particular, we see some signs of life on the DeFi index. This is very important because when an asset is perceived as expensive, asset manager generally look at the cheap assets in the crypto market. So this is exactly what is happening right here. Money managers are looking for cheap asset. They go to the DeFi index, which is so oversold, and they are participating. This phenomenon generally happens during the last speculative stage of an uptrend. So I think it's a positive thing in the long term, but we should be very careful. What are your thoughts on this chart, Roman?
Yeah, we've talked about this, the last stages of the speculation, what should happen to other assets that were undervalued. So Alessio is describing to you that this is why this rally is happening here. So the key here, I think, is just to continue monitoring the Bitcoin, that's number one, and expecting that the structure of the rest of the market is going to unfold within the structure of where they are right now. It could be the last push into the resistance for some. It would be a push above a certain resistance for others. It could be an attempt to reach a previous high, for the ones that are more outperforming. So just think generally about the leadership in Bitcoin and whether it still has the potential to go up. And we see, maybe it's slightly a little bit more room for the Bitcoin to go to that climactic high. And what would that do to other cryptocurrencies, other groups, and what kind of structures that they're going to create?
So this is the same chart for our time frame. As we can see, Bitcoin is stronger than the other assets. And we can expect another leg up, for example, in the mid-cap index. But I think that a good strategy here is just staying in Bitcoin. So the same principle that we have seen. And that price action is very constructed. That looks like a sign of strength followed by a possible backup that we have to see in the next hours.
Yeah, much better structure in Bitcoin here. This area right here that I circled has some emergence of the supply. Look at the reaction, not a very deep reaction, just into a local resistance right here, and then immediately a move up. Another supply bar that where we see the emergence of the supply and demand at the same time, and then an instant test. Instant resurrection. So that shows absorption around this level, whereas before we had some stop in action and we had some sell-in off this level. So this is a positive sign.
So the outperformance continues. And this is a long-term chart. Basically, this is my plan for the shitcoin and Bitcoin money management. Because in this case, you can see that we expect a last climatic push for Bitcoin, but in the meanwhile, look at that shitcoin index. We are still consolidating above the prior high. And this is a constructive sign in the long term. What we want to see here, we want to see at some point a shift in the leadership of the shitcoin index. And I think that we should wait for a couple of months here at least, and just give the price, give Bitcoin the room to reach that high target. But I think that this could be a very interesting plan for next months. Your thoughts, Roman?
Yeah, still it's weaker. So my thought here, until it starts showing the strength, I probably would not be interested, but I would be looking at it, and obviously we do on a weekly basis. So exactly how it's going to unfold, we'll have to see. I mean, I could definitely see this type of the scenario where a trading range with the lower volatility than Bitcoin trading range, would allow us to start seeing some kind of first initial signs of outperformance. But again, this is just kind of like, a speculative talk right now. So we'll have to see what's gonna happen actually.
Yes, this scenario, Roman, is based on what we have seen in the previous cycle in 2016 and 17, because when Bitcoin was reaching the 1,000 resistance, the 1,000 level, and all these shitcoin were underperforming, and in the next cycle, all the small caps started to outperform Bitcoin. So this is basically the same film that we're watching in this case, but we
All
have to
right.
see.
Okay, we'll have to see. Okay, next one.
Aave, this very interesting asset, we have seen a 100 bagger in the crypto space that was a very interesting leader, a DeFi project in the crypto space. And here we see a consolidation on the top of the previous high, long-term high. And this is very interesting. This week we have seen finally a sign of life on this asset, but the consolidation could take several months. So I think that we are still early in this formation, but we should look on a weekly basis. Roman?
Yeah, really good change of behavior. It doesn't really negate the whole run that we have had here. So this suggests still strength, and obviously not the same type of move that we could expect, but still, oh my gosh, a 100 bagger. Are you kidding me? This is just unbelievable. So as long as we're consolidating with the bullish signs, then, definitely something, to consider. And, also just thinking about, this probably would be something that I would be thinking for those of you who are, who have time, who are traders actually, not investors. This is probably the asset where I would be thinking about some kind of intraday swing trading, because the movements here, even within the trading ranges, are so big.
This is the same asset on the daily. Here we can see that there's a long-term outperformance, and Bitcoin locally outperform when we have some kind of consolidation in Aave. So there is this very interesting dynamic of rotation and switch from Bitcoin to altcoins, from Bitcoin to altcoins. And it's very interesting perspective also for intraday traders and swing traders that just want to catch this a swing here, a swing on the DeFi asset, a swing on Bitcoin. I think that this chart can help us to adopt the right perspective on the market. And what we're seeing now, we're seeing a very nice outperformance of the DeFi index, local outperformance, but this is just a rotational change of behavior. We want to see not just outperformance on the way up, now we need to see strength on the reaction. So it's very important to see what will happen next. But this is a good sign for now. What do you think, Roman, about this chart?
Yeah, I like the analogs here of how DeFi is just moving up, and then Bitcoin is obviously not doing this, and then the reversed price action where Bitcoin is outperforming. So it's kind of logical to expect that the leadership will change at some point after some kind of initial consolidation. Probably this is the spot where we could be possibly now. So Bitcoin needs to stop from going further up and needs to start consolidating in order for other crypto assets to start catching up the bid, and to see some more interest from bigger interests.
And this chart offers another interesting perspective for intraday traders, or for a quick, what I call a quick swing trading. And here we can see that that dynamic of rotation between Bitcoin and altcoins. For example, what's our plan here? We go to Bitcoin, then we compare Bitcoin to the DeFi index, and these are 6 assets in the DeFi index. And look at the sushi on the bottom chart. And there's a very interesting switch between the change of behavior with the indicated here with the red arrow on Bitcoin and the backing up action indicated with the green arrow on sushi. And that switch is very helpful to swing traders that want to just trade the small moves, still a 20% move, so not very small. I think it's a very helpful way to find short-term trades in the crypto space. And I want to hear your comments on this tactic, Roman.
Yeah, I like it as well. I mean, obviously, something is very attractive at this point of time, you know, the Bitcoin, and then they stop. So where does the money go? It goes somewhere else. So you want to find the assets that at the beginning of the change of behavior for Bitcoin, for the leading asset, have kind of couple of characteristics. Some kind of trading range formation, that's number one. So you have some kind of causality for the move. Secondly, starting to see some kind of breakouts, price breakouts, and then relative outperformance in the area where the Bitcoin becomes weaker and then other assets are becoming stronger. And this is a relatively simple trade that could be executed just on the breakout strategy. And you could have very, very, you know, quick moves up. I mean, like, look at this move up. I mean, like, I still, it's mind-boggling to me, Alessio, you know, how sometimes they move so fast and so far. So, I mean, like a swing and intraday strategy right now in the environment where all of the crypto assets and specifically Bitcoin are moving easily actually makes a lot of sense to me.
Great. So this is the same pattern that we have seen before. So synthetics, another chart, and this chart really reminds me of like the monthly chart of AMD, and where we have that kind of prolonged trading range, then a huge move, up move, and the kind of a cyclical correction. And now I think that this consolidation will take some months at least, but this is the same pattern that we have seen on the other chart. So very interesting. I think this is just the beginning. We are still in phase B. So, but very interesting chart, Roman.
Probably the low has been made. I mean, the lowest low in this formation. I would agree that we need to have some kind of, you know, change of behavior type of structure before we start being more excited. But this bar was really exciting with some volume coming in. And then a retest. Tests are extremely important. They are for the purpose of identifying whether the selling has been done, whether the selling has been finished, whether supply has been observed. So obviously, after the test, this is where you have the majority of the move up. Okay.
So this was the weekly chart. Now we see the daily. And here we can see there's a lot of volume coming in right now. So a lot of demand. And I think this is a possibility to reach, we can reach the resistance here, and then having some kind of frustrating last point of support action, and then a major sign of strength, and finally backing up action. So it's just an attempt to label this formation. Of course, this is just a scenario, but I think that can help us to identify the next swings and ride the trend once it begins.
Supply comes in on this particular bar as we get back into the trading range. So the texture of the of the spread and volatility is actually bullish on the way down into the spring. Really good demand comes in, supply, and then with that supply, the biggest question right away is what happens next? What kind of test are we seeing here? And we are holding, so Alessio's scenario going into the resistance makes sense on the background of Bitcoin going into more of the climactic run.
So Ocean Protocol, very similar pattern. And here we can see this chart, we are trying to backing up on this, on the local resistance here. And you can see this local switch of outperformance. On the red segment, we have a consolidation Ocean and Bitcoin is going up. Then red on the green segment, Ocean is going up and Bitcoin is consolidating. This continuous switch is very helpful for traders because you can catch both moves. That's the poetry of the rotation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good technique. Crypto assets, present us with so many opportunities to go somewhere where, there was no movement, and then suddenly there is some movement. And again, even a small movement, have such a, return here that you could swing trade that and even intraday trade that.
So this is a Chainlink and a long-term leader. And here we see the epidermic top with not a lot of volume, to be honest. So at point 1, we don't see high volume supply signature. Then we see some demand at point 2 that come in. Again, demand at point 3. Supply signature is decreasing at point 4. A flat supply signature at number 5. And then we have this increase of demand. And we have to see now if we are able to stay in this small trading range. Because I suspect that what can happen here is that we consolidate in this small trading range and then we try to attack the resistance. What are your thoughts, Roman?
Yeah, I really like Chainlink just generally because this is where you see institutional participation, and you usually want to identify the spots where they are buying aggressively. So as we could see in this area right here, where Bitcoin actually was kind of lagging somewhat, look at the volume bulges here where that represent institutional buying. And they are buying on the way up. So you would be expecting that the price, if it reacts, it would come into this area after the slow of the momentum, and we see exactly that. As Alessio walked you through, yeah, supply signature diminishes throughout the whole formation, and on the background of slightly higher highs, higher lows. That is a bullish sign, and we would be probably expecting, somewhat exactly what Alessio is drawing for us here. Small attempts to go down that are going to fail, then a move up into the resistance area. So kind of reminds me a little bit, of a gold-silver situation that we're having right now. And then more of the consolidation here before actually accelerating and having a more pronounced momentum.
And we will see the PNF counts for Chainlink in the future. And this is waves, very similar pattern, but we are slightly, we're already above local resistance here. So very interesting pattern, slightly better than Chainlink. The volume signature is very, very low, so supply is exhausted. So we can expect some kind of quick up move and then supply coming in on the all-time resistance.
Yeah, I would be thinking that that coming in supply probably will take us back, to this level, which became somewhat important, where there were quite a few tests. This is what David Weis would call the axis line. This is where a lot of events happening, a lot of touches, and I like those type of touches on the lines as well. All right, well, that's it, Alessio, for today. Really good session as always, guys. Thank you for your comments, and Send us your requests, and Alessio, a really great job.
Thank you very much, Roman. It's always a pleasure to discuss the market with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. We'll talk to you next week.